The champagne glass trembled slightly in my hand, not from nerves, but from control. I was watching him as he raised his glass to toast the bride and groom. My daughter glowed, beautiful and white, eyes glistening with joy. He was smiling, the father-in-law, a man who thought he knew power because he wore it like a cheap suit. Then without warning, he turned to me, and the words that followed, I'll never forget them. "Incredible how far charity cases have come these days," he said loudly, laughter hiding in the corner of his mouth. "I mean, no husband, no real job, yet here you are sitting among the rest of us." There was a stunned silence, then nervous chuckles. His wife looked away. My daughter froze. I stood up slowly, calmly, my voice even. "Do you even know who I am?" He blinked. Then he paled. And that's when it all began to crumble. I raised her alone. From the moment her father walked out with a younger version of himself and left me with a mortgage, a toddler, and a lawyer's smirk in my inbox, I stopped being soft. I built walls. I learned numbers. And I learned silence. We had peanut butter sandwiches for dinner some nights. But she never knew how close I came to breaking. She only knew warmth. I smiled when I couldn't breathe. I worked 2 jobs, then 3. I built something out of spite, out of fear, out of love. And then she met him, the boy, and he was decent, polite, the kind you want your daughter to bring home. But behind every decent boy is a family. And behind that family, there's usually a man. His name was Douglas Keating, CEO, old money, old power. He looked at people the way surgeons look at tumors. He smiled when we first met, but it didn't reach his eyes. The signs were small. It started with a venue suggestion, then the wedding planner he hired, then the seating chart that pushed me to the edge of the room. At first, I thought it was accidental. But there are no accidents with men like him. Only moves. He made sure the narrative was clear. He was the provider, the host, the father figure. And I was just the woman who had shown up to eat the food. But I watched, I listened, I smiled, and I waited. Because I hadn't built a life just to hand it over to a man in a tailored suit. The moment of clarity came 3 months before the wedding, a legal document, a gift agreement buried in a stack of vendor contracts I didn't need to worry about, but I do numbers. I live in details. And the gift wasn't to the couple. It was a financial leash, a controlling interest in my daughter's startup, the one I helped her build, the one with my early investments, my nights of lost sleep, my contacts. And he had tried to sign it away behind my back. That was when the pain burned out and the planning began. I started with the paper trail, copies, screenshots, meeting transcripts, a careful accumulation. I called in favors, silent ones, people who owed me, people in high places who disliked men like Douglas even more than I did. Then I moved the money quietly. The shares I held in my daughter's company were transferred into a trust, one she would control the moment she signed her marriage certificate. A wedding gift, if you will. I didn't tell her. Not yet. The real trap wasn't financial. It was reputational. And Douglas's reputation was a glass house perched on a fault line. So when he opened his mouth at that wedding, when he tried to humiliate me in front of my daughter, her husband, and 200 guests, I knew exactly what would happen next. "Do you even know who I am?" I asked. He said nothing, but his eyes flicked, to his wife, to the lawyer across the room, to the man in the gray suit standing near the caterers, my contact from the SEC. "That's right. I invited him too. You think this wedding was yours?" I said, my voice low but clear enough for the microphone to catch it. "You thought you were the puppet master." I stepped closer. "I let you think that." A rustle moved through the crowd. Then I pulled out the envelope. Thick, heavy. "The documents in here show how you tried to obtain controlling interest in a business that isn't yours. Fraud, coercion, you name it. I even have the wire transfer. You were careless on that call, Douglas. Someone gasped. His face turned to ash. But I'm not here to ruin your son's wedding, I said. So here's the deal. You disappear from my daughter's life. Quietly. No fanfare, no control. Or I go public tomorrow. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His wife was already crying. My daughter looked at me like she had never seen me before, not in fear, but in awe. He left before dessert was served. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't toast again. By Monday morning, his board was reviewing concerns. My SEC contact filed the necessary inquiry. Nothing flashy, just enough pressure to make a man disappear. And my daughter, she found the trust letter in her wedding suite. She called me crying. She said, "You protected me again." I didn't respond. She already knew. Revenge doesn't need shouting. It doesn't need blood. It just needs silence, timing, and a willingness to be underestimated. So when people ask what I do for a living, I smile and I say, I raise empires, and I bury the men who try to steal them. Justice isn't loud. It's surgical. And now it's done.